So, Streamlabs keeps trying to sell me Twitch Prime, and I already have it. I'm just too lazy to activate it on my account. But the pop-ups are annoying me so much, it's gonna motivate me to actually link it. I don't know why, but I find that to be pretty funny. Welcome back to another fun-filled evening of Netrunner games. Looks like a new band list came out. Kind of excited to see what this is. Wait, I can never navigate Chez site. I don't understand. How do you... Give me the band list. Is this it? Why is there a link here? Who's Papadopoulos? And where do I sign up to get that cool of a name? Papadopoulos. It's a fantastic name. Alright, let's see what they have to say to here. They're testing a new update that's going to be released in June. That's kind of exciting. Violet level. What? Why was this banned? It's a good card. It's not that good. I mean, it's good. Okay, so it's really good, but you can only use it at the end of your turn. It gets you a net of... Okay, it's probably the card draw. Really, that's very strong about it.
And the water cycle started.
I don't know. Was this really so egregious? Was Violet level... I feel like we haven't seen games being swept by Violet level. What, Corp win rates are too far ahead of runners. Okay. Corps are faster. The two front-runner decks are Seamless Rush and Precision Design. Oh, so it looks like Precision Design and Asa. So it looks like they're trying to attack those two archetypes specifically. I haven't seen these two decks, but I'm willing to bet that they're ones that use... Yeah. Violet level. Violet level. Is that right? Is it right to attack a specific card like that? I feel like this isn't a problem with Violet level. I think the problem is... Well, one of the problems is Seamless Launch. I know that's been a pretty strong card. Why don't you ban your new Seamless Launch card? No, that wouldn't be very cool. It doesn't even look like this Asa deck uses Seamless Launch. Is Managarm Skunkworks? Yeah, I guess Managarm is pretty good. I suppose it would be good in a tempo deck. Let's get out of here. What are we even doing? We're here to spectate some Netrunner games. I'm getting lost in meta that no one's even asking for. Alright, you know the drill. If you see your game streamed here and you don't like it, let me know. And I'll avoid it in the future. Otherwise... Let's just hop into the first game of the night, which is going to be Combinesa Wu versus GameNet. Stepping in on turn 2, 2 Rizeki has already hit the table, but that's not that uncommon from Combinesa. Probably was brought out through a combination of Wu's ability, pulling an SMC and then pulling the Rizeki. Prepaid voice pad as well. There is a protected Spin Doctor. And a Spin Doctor already in the bin, so this Spin Doctor is probably going to recur the existing Spin Doctor. We'll have to see. Okay, popped after a second ice covers that remote. Indeed, one of the Spin Doctors in hedge funds. Oh, what's this? You see this? There's a fancy little orange thing around the cards now when they're installed. I want to see that again. If the runner installs a card, does a fancy orange thing surround it? Wow, that was a lot of it. Holy crap. Look at this economy. Oh my goodness. That was just a turn of nothing but hedge funds, or rather, sure gambles. Sure gambles and... Yeah, look at that. There's like an orange... There's an orange accent. Oh wow, this is strong. So Cabanesa uses her ID ability to pull Mayfly. That's a really good use of Cabanesa's ability in synergy with Mayfly, because Mayfly is going to trash anyway. So you don't have to remove it from the game that way. Anyway, Cabanesa pulls Mayfly, has 20 credits to her name, wants to check this server. Funnily enough, in spite of the fact that there are 3 cards in that server, not a single one is a agenda. Instead, we have a Traffic Analyzer, Aryabhata Tech, Sura... Oh my goodness, it's this silly combo again, right? We've seen this before. This gets all sorts of crazy. So, because I need a refresher on this, we're going to run over this one more time. So the way it works... Alright. You res Surratt. Whenever you res a card in or protecting the server, you can res another card, lowering the cost by 2. So you res your Traffic Analyzer for free, which, whenever you res a piece of ice protecting the server trace 2, if successful, the corp gains a credit. Whenever there's a successful trace, you gain a credit and the runner loses a credit. So you essentially fire off 3 traces against the runner all at once, resing all of your ice at a 2 credit discount, while every ice that is resed fires off a trace 2. If successful, the corp gains a credit. And then, of course, because of Aryabhata, the corp gains another credit on that trace if it's successful, and the runner loses a credit, and when the runner loses a credit, GameNet gains yet another credit. So, more often than not, the runner wants to pay into these traces to prevent them. But... Wait, what did we lose here? I think we crashed into... Oh, okay, we crashed into the Archangel, which added a Rezeki to Cabanesa's hand. She reinstalls it, she eats the loss on the Mayfly, removes it from game. And that's kind of okay. I think at this point, she's looking at this server here and just going, okay, well, you've got an asset in this server. I don't need to get in there because you can't use it as a scoring remote right now. So she doesn't even try to get in here to trash it. Makes sense. I mean, you don't want to go through all this ice just to trash stuff. She doesn't have the money for that, really. Meanwhile, over on the side of the corp... Yes! Sorry, I love seeing Smartware Distributor used. Anyway, meanwhile, on the side of the corp... 10 cards were in hand. One of them subliminal messaging, though. So that can be played clicklessly. Attitude adjustment shuffles 2 degree mills into R&D from hand. Another piece of ice put on the server, and what is assumedly maybe another Traffic Analyzer entering server 1, or it could be, I think, isn't part of this combo. Isn't this the one that uses, what's her name? Arella Salvatore? I think that's part of this combo. Anyway, Wu just kind of setting up, puts an Anacam down, as well as a conduit for potential future R&D runs. Now, GameNet does have a lot of fancy things going on this side of the table, but yeah, GameNet, now gendered as she. But GameNet doesn't really have anything going on in front of the centrals. If the ice in front of R&D isn't particularly meaningful, it's very possible that Cabanesa could just hammer R&D several times, build up a ton of conduit charges, and just blast through. Now that was a normal, regular install on Mayfly. So that's not going to be trashed at the end of her turn, which potentially gives her a breaker that can just plow through a server, even this server if need be, with 9 credits to its name. It's got a decent, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? Like 1 click for 1, or 1 credit for 1 strength, 1 credit for 1 subroutine, but it gets expensive if you have to constantly boost this. But yeah, this is what we were looking for, because Cabanese is just looking at this nonsense going over here and says, like, why would I want to do this? So GameNet's gonna do their normal hat and dance, song and dance. They're gonna res traffic analyzer, so now whenever they res an ice in this server, again able to do that because of Surat City Grid, they're tracing the runner twice. For trace 2, Cabanese has a link though, which makes this strategy a little worse. I'm a little confused why it says pays 1 to increase trace strength to 3. Oh, I see. So GameNet's just trying to get Cabanese to spend a little more money on the traces. It's in Cabanese's best interest to pay into these traces to prevent them, because by preventing them, you prevent the corp from gaining 3 credits, and you lose a credit anyway because of Aryabhata tech. So I think there's a lot of text all flying by it, but I think that's what's happening here. And that does drop GameNet down to 1 credit. Now, this is a real bummer for Cabanese. There is a toll booth on R&D. That's not the card you want to see on a server that you're intending to run through several times. GameNet very intelligently putting that toll booth there, not feeling any pressure that they need to protect R&D with anything else other than that. This means that every single time that Cabanese wants to run through this server, she has to lose 3 credits, and every time that happens, GameNet is gaining a credit. This singular toll booth pretty much just shuts down all the conduit play. Now, luckily, Cabanese is still able to pull a degree mill off of the top of R&D. She did see 2 cards there. Looks like the second one was the degree mill. Where'd all these virus tokens come from? Did she contaminate? Oh, I missed that. Alright, never mind. No, she actually saw 4 cards from R&D. Conduit was contaminated, so even though that toll booth is there, she was able to take full advantage of those 3 conduit tokens. And I'd say it might be in GameNet's best interest to purge either this turn or the next, if Cabanese keeps going in there, because she can see on the second run, if she waits a little while, well actually she doesn't even need to wait, because we have a mandatory draw and then an immediate play and res of Spin Doctor. So that's 3 cards cycled off here. Wu saw 4 and stole 1 of them, so all 5 cards that Wu would see off of the conduit run would be fresh. However, GameNet drops another piece of ice in front of R&D, wants to dissuade Wu from doing that. Now, Wu draws twice, perhaps looking for a breaker, looking for cash to break through the toll booth. I'm not really sure which. But she needs to get in here now, because I would say that on the next turn, there's a good chance that GameNet just purges this conduit, if GameNet can afford to res this piece of ice with just the 3 credits that they have. Now, Wu runs archives, forces the Spin Doctor to be used to presumably pull agendas out of archives. That's 2 Spin Doctors out of the game, 1 left, presumably. Wu installs yet another Mayfly on Flameout. Oh, and this is where GameNet's strategy gets really disgusting. So divert power allows you to de-res as many things as you want and then lower the res cost of another card by 3 for each card de-res. Of course, this really isn't done. Getting to res a new card with a 3 credit per de-res discount is just a side effect. It's a bonus. Because really what you're doing here is getting the ability to res all of this ice again. So through this combo, we re-res Traffic Analyzer, res the other Traffic Analyzer, and we're just going to res all this ice again, effectively tracing the runner 10 times. Now, of course, Wu just doesn't... I mean, she simply does not have the money to fight 10 of these traces, and eventually her credits are going to get drained. At this point, it's probably... It doesn't matter if she pays into it or not. With this many traces coming her way, she can't fight them all. Oh, interesting. Well, hold on here. I don't... The runner is submitting that they're not in the middle of a run. So the corp... Oh, I see. No, this is true. The runner is saying that she's not... Wu isn't in the middle of a run. Therefore, GameNet isn't gaining the credit off of their ID ability. But I don't think GameNet cares, because they're still firing these double traces. Each of these traces is still going to gain them a credit on their own, in addition to Aryabhata gaining them a credit and then forcing the runner to lose a credit. Yeah. That's how efficient this is. The corp doesn't even care that they're missing out on their GameNet money. They don't need it. This is definitely one of those strategies that falls within what I would consider to be a degenerate method of play. Because yeah, here comes... So with the runner dropped down to 0 credits, simply with 3 credits to their name, the corp just hits them with hard-hitting news. I mean, I suppose this could have been avoided if Wu just didn't make a run last turn, because then hard-hitting news couldn't be used, but if you're asking the runner not to make a run, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? With Toll Booth on R&D, there's no way to even have kind of like a Hail Mary run into R&D with the hopes of stealing enough agendas. Toll Booth is just reinforced with that hard end the run. Subliminal gains a credit. The corp just clicks up for 3 credits, probably either looking for the money for a boom or just biding their time until they draw the boom. Or consulting visit, or however they want to do this. So Cabanesa has seen their entire deck at this point. It has a lot of cards here, but I'm not seeing the overall strategy here. It seems a little messy. A lot of economy in this deck. It seems that Mayfly may be the exclusive breaker of this deck. But yeah, there it is. Immediately the boom is dropped, and that's game. What do you do about that? Well, first off, I think as the runner, you need a better deck. Due to the fact that Cabanesa got boomed, we get to see the entire deck here. There is so much economy in this deck. Like, this deck is nothing but economy. I know I was lauding the Smartware distributor being in here, but the Smartware distributor does not even need to be in here. There's nothing but economy and draw. And the prepaid voice pads really have me scratching my head. You already have so much money. What are you using the prepaid voice pads on, other than to just get more money, I guess? It looks like the strategy, though, is to rely on Mayfly exclusively. Recur Mayfly over and over again. You can recur your Mayflies with labor rights. You can recur your Mayflies with... I saw it here. Where was it? Harmony AR Therapy. But that gets tricky because you really only want to do that if you only have one Mayfly in your heap. Or rather, it only works on one Mayfly at a time. Compile definitely makes a lot of sense. That lets you pull a Mayfly out of your heap, and then add it to the bottom of your stack, which gets it back into your deck. Simulchip. Yeah, this kind of just seems like a grab bag of a deck. Like, clearly the idea is to recur Mayfly and use that as your exclusive breaker to plow through everything. There's this kind of weird... I missed this. There's a Gravedigger. There's this kind of weird virus synergy with Contaminate, Gravedigger. Oh, there are 3 labor rights. How did I miss those? Contaminate, Gravedigger. We can trash cards off R&D. You can also contaminate your conduit. I don't think Gravedigger should be in this deck, simply because you already have conduit. So you already have, that's your R&D pressure. Why would you want to give the Corp 2 reasons to purge you when conduit on its own is strong enough? Typically. I mean, admittedly, in this circumstance, Gravedigger would have been nice, just because R&D was a little tricky to get into because of Toll Booth. But yeah, I'd say get rid of the Gravedigger and put in a Hunting Grounds. That way you're on encounter... Although the on encounter would have been nullified by Turnpike, so you'd still hit the on encounter of Toll Booth. Regardless, okay, we understand what the deck was trying to do. I might not like it, but that's fine. The deck had an idea behind it. How do you use that to combat this? And the answer is, I don't know if you can. Cabanesa had a deck that was almost entirely made out of money, and still didn't have enough money to combat this. Is it possible that you just simply, when you see this coming, you just stop running? If you don't run, you can't be hard-hitting newsed. And if the Corp wants to score out, they have to overwrite their Aryabhata tech. And if they overwrite their Aryabhata tech, they can't make you lose money on a successful trace. And if they can't make you lose money on a successful trace, they can't fire GameNet's ability mid-run. But the problem is they could just install another Aryabhata tech in an unprotected server and force you to run on one or the other. One way or the other, you're getting hit by 10 traces, I think, is the problem. Now, this is a trace 2, by its nature. And Combinesa already has a link of 1. That's kind of the crazy part about this. Combinesa already cuts through 50% of the trace strength of Traffic Analyzer. And still, she didn't have enough money. What turn was it? It was turn 12, so the Rizekis had plenty of time to pay off. She didn't really lose money on anything other than those traces. Yeah, Flameout costs 2, Gravedigger costs 2, Anacam costs 3. She was losing money a bit on things like this. What happens in this deck if you don't run? What does the Corp do? We saw 2 Degree Mills shuffled into R&D, so we know that there must be at least 1 more Degree Mill in the deck. Scoring a Degree Mill would require 2 full turns unless there's some kind of fast advance in this. As crazy as it sounds, I think the strategy might be to simply not run? But that doesn't make any sense. If you don't run, they have to overwrite their Aryabhata tech to score out. So at best, they could have maybe an Aryabhata tech or 2 over here. Which means on the turn where you do need to run, because eventually you will need to run, they still do their whole res everything, trace you a million times, make you lose all that money. I don't know. It's a sticky situation. I don't like this archetype because I feel like it's not really playing Netrunner. It's just kind of taking advantage of weird interactions among several cards. Especially Divert Power. I think if Divert Power didn't exist, I think this strategy just falls apart. Well, it doesn't fall apart, but it feels more honest. Because doing this combo once, fine. Like, it's annoying, but like, okay, that's kind of neat. I see what you're doing there. But then just de-resing it all and doing it again just feels stupid. Is that negative? I'm sorry if that's negative. Alright, Precision Design versus Hoshko. Precision Design, apparently, fairly strong ID if we're to take Nisei's report as accurate information that one of the top decks right now is Precision Design. Hoshko runs the remote and sees a Magnet. Magnet's starting to make more and more sense these days as cards like Botulus, Tranquilizer, all sorts of cards like that are popping up. Things that attach themselves to ice and are very annoying. She runs HQ and hits an Afshar, losing 2 credits to do so, and then last click, runs R&D, doesn't see anything useful, but does get in for free, considering the Corp is down to 0 credits. The card in server 1 is just a Rashida. 3 cards drawn, 3 credits gained. Putting the Corp back up to 3. They decide to ice Archives. Makes a little bit of sense against Anarch. You might see Hoshko Rebirth into Omar. That's a possibility. So I don't necessarily disagree with icing Archives this early. This could also be a fully operational deck, except that I don't think fully operational takes into account Centrals, does it? Does it? I could probably look that up really quick. Oh, did we lose we chiseled some ice. What was that? Chiseled Afshar. Oh, but it only has the 1 strength. That makes sense. So that would have been an easy chisel. Nice, nice. Going to repeat this for each remote server, yeah. The fully operational does not consider centrals. Anyway, the corp bounces back with a hedge fund, preceded by a red level clearance. Hoshko takes a turn to set up, has 2 daily casts ticking down, although one's just about out. Paladin Poemu and Devil Charm. Clearly, Hoshko has a strength lowering strategy which synergizes with Chisel. We'll have to see if she has any recursion on the Chisel, or whether this is just kind of a one-off little tool that she has. Whether the whole deck revolves around it, or whether it's just a piece of the overall puzzle. 2 cards are now in Server 1, and a Spin Doctor revealed, with 6 cards in Archives, plenty to choose from if the Spin Doctor needs to be used. Hoshko draws twice. What is she looking for? Breakers? Tricks? Money? She does only have 5 credits. Poemu is going to help install some of these cards. Okay. Pricey install on the Earthrise Hotel. 3 credits and 1 from Poemu, but that's going to give her plenty of draw over the next 3 turns. Turns out one of the cards in Server 1 is an agenda, or at least appears to be an agenda. Could be an NGO front. Double advance on that card in Server 1, and a new piece of ice in front of HQ, which is a little curious. You would think if that card in Server 1 is an agenda, you'd want to protect it a bit more, especially because the runner knows that this is a magnet. If they had a Black Orchestra in hand, they could drop it for 3, click for a credit, and break through the magnet. Although there is presumably an upgrade with this double advance card. If that was a Managarm Skunkworks, the runner wouldn't have enough clicks or credits to get in, I don't think. Except I think I miscalculated because 2 credits came off a daily cast. Anyway, all of that is moot because Moshing is played. Moshing is a fun card. Trash 3 from the grip. Draw 3 and gain 3 credits. Oh my goodness. Oh, we lost some valuable cards though on that Moshing. Stargate, Dreamnet is very important for Hoshko. Rebirth, not the card you want to see trashed. And justification for icing Archives, since Hoshko apparently did have the ability to rebirth into Omar if she needed. Simulchip dropped, presumably to recur the Chisel. Card in Server 1 ends up being a Cyberdeck Sandbox. Credit neutral score in addition to gaining the ability to purge without really losing tempo. Well, not really losing tempo at all. Compared to clicking for credits anyway. But, aside from Chisel, Hoshko hasn't revealed any virus cards. And the fact is that Chisel, in tandem with Devil Charm, never really needs virus tokens. So, Black Orchestra is dropped. Hoshko decides to run with 1 click remaining against the magnet. What happened here? Why did the magnet trash? Oh, Hippo was used. I missed the Hippo installation. Okay. Magnet broken with Hippo. Anoetic Void was used on several occasions to end the run on Server 1. It ended up just being a Rashida in that server, although the Corp decided that that was still important enough that they wanted to prevent Hoshko from getting that. They immediately replace the trashed ice, the trash magnet, on Server 1 with a new piece of ice, as well as putting either another upgrade or an asset or an agenda in that server. Hoshko drops a second Hippo, decides to run Server 1. It's a very trash-heavy deck Hoshko's using. A lot of Chisel, Hippo. I wonder if we'll see even cards like Tripano. But I don't think so. I don't think Tripano fits into this style. Anyway, Hoshko gets in here and sees a Managarm Skunkworks, so she's gonna have to either pay 2 clicks or 5 credits to succeed in this run. Looks like she didn't pay either. Runs archives, but sees a drafter, uses Simulchip to install Chisel by trashing the Black Orchestra, and with the Devil Charm combo, as mentioned previously, immediately trashes the drafter with Chisel. Before she can get into archives, though, Spin Doctor shuffles 2 unseen cards into R&D, presumably to 1 or 2 agendas. And so, frustratingly, Hoshko comes up with nothing. She installs another Hippo. Wait, is that what happened? Oh, no. She used a Simulchip to install a Chisel on the Singleton Ice in front of R&D. The Corp responds by installing yet a 3rd card in Server 1, as well as a 2nd piece of ice on the remote and a 2nd piece of ice on R&D. However, they only have 7 credits. Hoshko opens up her turn by labor rightsing. Probably going to pull back Chisels would be my guess. Oh, Simulchips, actually. 2 Simulchips and a sure gamble. Oh, there are no Chisels in the bin. Literally, every time this Chisel has been used, it's been recurred, sans the first time it was used. Recurred through Simulchip. Regardless, she runs R&D. The outermost piece of ice either can't or isn't rezzed. And Hagen is encountered. Which is great for the Corp because Hoshko can't break through that. And it trashes a non-icebreaker program, which Chisel qualifies. She's going to need a barrier breaker to get through there. That's certainly going to set Hoshko back. However, the Corp down to 3 credits. Hoshko feels like maybe she can get lucky on this remote. Corp reses a magnet as the outermost piece of ice protecting the remote. Hoshko installs Black Orchestra for 3, breaks magnet for 3, trashes it with Hippo, gets into the server. Except Managarm. No, Managarm doesn't end the run. Anoetic Void does. I think? Why did... It said that the... Approach the server. It said that the Corp ended the run, but I didn't see any cards trashed from hand, so I have to assume Managarm ended the run there. Hoshko makes a run on that remote. Spends 2 clicks to get in, but the Corp uses Anoetic Void to trash 2 cards from hand, pay 2 credits, and end the run. Hoshko goes back in, pays the 5 credits, and hits a Cyberdex sandbox. The Corp has spent their last 2 turns purging, and this isn't to purge virus tokens, this is just simply a way to get money. Hoshko checks R&D, or archives rather, since there were those 2 cards trashed from HQ on the previous turn. Just reveals a Spin Doctor and another Managarm. That's a pretty nefarious combo though. Anoetic Void and Managarm Skunkworks. Those 2 cards worked pretty well together. Anoetic Void has a very low trash cost, but once you get it into the server, it's a little tricky to stop that. Corp is running a little low on money though, draws a card and clicks for 2 credits. A lot of cards in the bin for them, and one of them is Spin Doctor, which is relevant since they can only have one more Spin Doctor potentially, which cuts down on their ability to cycle agendas that have been trashed from HQ using Anoetic Void out of archives and into R&D by using Spin Doctor. So in a way, Hoshko has a little bit of breathing room here. A little bit. It's tied up 2-2. And even though Precision Design has been using some pretty nifty tricks here, Hoshko has managed to keep up. They've had to use a lot of tricks of their own in the form of Devil Charms, Hippos, Chisels, things like that. She's managed to trash quite a few ice on the side of the Corp. Now, the Corp is down to 13 cards. So they're not looking at the end of the timer yet, but the timer is approaching for the Corp. Hoshko decides to take a bit of money and then runs HQ, sees an Eli. Are we going to recur Chisel and then dump it with Devil Charm? It looks like that's the case. Indeed. So for a paltry sum of what, basically no money? Eli is trashed. Hoshko gets into HQ, sees an Onsel. It's a very ice-heavy Precision Design. I like it. I like ice-heavy Corps. However, Hoshko goes back in, and the Corp decides, you know what, enough is enough. I am going to res this final piece of ice on HQ. It is the Onsel. Dropping them down to 0 credits, but I think they're willing to do this for a couple reasons. Hoshko has, for the time being, ran out of tricks she can use to instantly trash ice, and Precision Design can purge on the next turn to gain 4 credits instead of the normal 3. So Onsel can trash a runner card. However, I believe Hoshko clicked to break that subroutine. So the only 2 that got into fire was you may install 1 card from HQ or archives, and the runner cannot steal or trash Corp cards for the remainder of the turn. Rashida Jahim was installed out of archives, I believe. Yeah. Which was used. Seamless Launch scores Luminal Transubstantiation out of server 1. Couple money cards played. Well, 1 money card, Hansei Review, and then Red Level Clearance, which was used as a money card to gain 2 credits with no clicks down. Another piece of ice reinforces HQ. Corp is up to 9 credits, 4 points. They're looking a little more threatening now. But again, that Rashida drove 3 more cards out of R&D. The Corp's down to their last 9 cards in the deck. They probably have enough time to score a 5-3. Given the right circumstances, but Hoshko may yet be able to get in here. And I think it's going to be pretty difficult, though. If this card here in server 1 is an agenda, getting in here is going to be probably impossible through the Managarm Anoetic Void combo. Hoshko does have her last Devil Charm, so if the Corp can res any of this ice, Hoshko could theoretically insta-trash it. However, she decides to focus on HQ, which I don't... Is that the right call? I feel like if you go for the remote, you can be guaranteed to trash one of these. Okay, but she is gonna... Okay. So it looks like she's using the age-old run where you don't want to run first, so you can run where you actually want to run second. So she bounces off of the Hagen. Chisel gets trashed. She gets to a point where she can actually run server 1, pays the 5 credits. Anoetic Void prevents the run from succeeding. Hoshko checks archives to see if the 2 cards discarded from HQ were agendas. They are not. Corp purges just to gain the money. Oh, my apologies. Let's move the mic up a bit. There, maybe that'll be a bit better. Misdirection is installed, although that's probably just simulchip fodder. She decides to run server 1 with nearly nothing installed. No Devil Charms. Simulchip can recur something, but Anoetic Void is used again. Now, the thing about Anoetic Void is it does cost 2 credits every time the Corp wants to do that, and they have to pitch 2 cards from hand. Except they're gaining money when they're scoring these and or when they're purging. Offworld Office was scored with Seamless Launch. The thing about Seamless Launch is it's dirt cheap to use. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but you get you pay 1 credit for 2 advancement tokens. So you're essentially spending 2 resources to get 4. So the Corp ends up not really needing that much money. And just to make things even worse for Hoshko, they arc lockdown all the chisels in the heap. Which, kind of, it's been apparent that chisel has been a main part of Hoshko's overall strategy. The thing is, though, most of the Devil Charms are gone, right? Devil Charm... Or were they shuffled in using labor rights? No? 1 Devil Charm, 2 Devil Charm. Plus, Devil Charm can't be shuffled in. It has to be removed from the game when it's used. See, I don't know how important arc lockdowning the chisel will be. We'll have to see. Anyway, with 9 credits and 1 click, Hoshko makes a run on server 1, but Anoetic Void is there to presumably just ruin her day. The Corp's gonna let her get to the end of the server, so she has to pay those 5 credits. She pays the 5, and then, again, the Corp just dumps her out with Anoetic Void. And more than likely, she's lost at this point. She could check archives, but chances are there's not enough agendas in there. There could be. I don't know. I think that's her out. She says she's thinking. I don't know how much thinking you can really do here, though. The thing is, if this is a 4-2 or lower, the Corp is 1. Assuming they have a seamless launch in hand, which they've drawn through the majority of their deck, so at this point they probably do, except they did pitch 2 cards from Anoetic. They could have accidentally pitched their seamless launch. How many seamless launches are... 1 in archives, only 1 though. So it's hard to make a good decision as to whether or not... Now what is happening here? She's running the server, but she can't get in. She doesn't have the money. Looks like she's simul-chipping something. Trashes misdirection to pay for the simul-chip. Uses it to install a Stargate. Pays 5. Wait. Is that how that works? Oh, okay. So what ended up happening is she simul-chipped, installed Stargate, used credits from Paladin Poemu, and the 3 credit discount from simul-chip to install Stargate for free, gained a single credit from Keiko, which gave her the 5 credits to pay into Managarm Skunkworks, allowing her to get into the server. She actually steals an off-world office. This is followed up immediately by the Corp installing a new card in Server 1 and double advancing it. Wow, that was quite the gymnastic move in order to get that last credit gained from Keiko. Since a credit was gained from Paladin Poemu, that triggered Keiko. Anyway, on Hoshko's next turn, she runs into the remote, which is greeted by a Fairchild 3.0 being rezzed, which leaves the Corp still with 2 credits, which is enough to advance a 4-2 twice. She lets all the subroutines on Fairchild fire, which is unfortunate because that last one, do 1 brain damage or end the run, that's the one that really makes it stick. Corp decides to end the run, signifying that the card here is more than likely an agenda. Hoshko runs archive to see if maybe the game-winning cards are in archives, but no luck. I think at this point, she's lost. It's a valiant effort. Definitely seemed to be playing for her outs. But there's the 5-3. Scored. What makes this even more frustrating is if Precision Design only runs Vatron as their 5-3s. Even if Hoshko stole a 5-3 off R&D or HQ or wherever, or archives, still wouldn't have been enough. That's a pretty nasty combo. Anoetic Void and Managarm Skunkworks. It's hard to say what Hoshko should have done better. Or rather, I should say that it's not terribly obvious. I mean, rebirthing might have been nice, but it wasn't like that was what lost her the game necessarily. Is it possible that she tried to trash too many things too aggressively? It almost seemed like she was just trashing things at random. mean, it wasn't truly at random, but it seemed very aggressive, and without direction, without precision. But then again, that also is what the deck was designed to do. I mean, it was designed to recur Chisel. And trash things. Yeah. I think at this point I'd have to say it's a limitation of Hoshko's deck. The Devil Charm Chisel combo is very nice. It's extremely powerful when you use it. Yes, it is a 2-card combo, and 2-card combos are considered kind of bad. But frankly, a 2-card combo that lets you instant speed trash whatever ice you're encountering, I think, you know, you can give that a little bit of leeway. Well, I guess if it's instant speed, it's actually a 3-card combo, isn't it? Because Simulchip is needed. Yeah, okay, so the more I talk about this, I think that's kind of the problem, right? The Devil Charm, Simulchip, Chisel interaction is fun and interesting, but it's far from tournament competitive. It's a combo that requires 3 cards to use, if you do it at instant speed. You can get away with it without doing it at instant speed by just using the 2 cards. But then you have to guess that the corp is going to res something. Plus, when you run out of Devil Charms, this strategy kind of gets less good. Presumably she has a paperclip in here somewhere, but she never drew it. It looks like there's only one of each copy of Breaker. And that ended up causing a lot of trouble with Hagen, because she didn't get the paperclip out, so Hagen kept trashing her chisels. Yeah, I think Hoshko's deck lost simply because of the deck itself. I don't think there's anything really Hoshko could have been doing to play this better necessarily. It's just that it's going to be tough going against the Skunkworks, Managarm, Anoetic Void combo. Maybe the play is to trash all the ice on the remote so that you can get in here and trash these cards. Maybe that's the play. Because it was pretty cool when Hoshko was running this as a naked remote, and the corp kept having to just spend 2 credits and trashing 2 cards from HQ just to stop Hoshko from running this open server. But once the corp started putting ice in front of it, then it got way less viable. Oh well. Oh, is this the same game? This looks like a different Hoshko deck. Coming into this one a little late at turn 5. Looks like Precision Design versus Hoshko, but a non-Chisel Hoshko. We do see Hunting Grounds here. Score is 2-0, with Hoshko down to 4 credits, and the Corp up to 11. Corp has a lot of unresed ice on the table. And the runner has a little bit of setup. Apparently they wanton destruction at one point. Interestingly, the runner clicks up for credits and installs Paperclip. Now I'm going to guess the reason they did this is because they fear the Arc lockdown. It's the only reason I could think that the runner would willingly manually install their Paperclip. But they had to drop down pretty low on money to do this. Meanwhile, the Corp is swimming in 19 credits with 2 mystery cards in Server 2. But look at this, Hoshko has a second copy of Paperclip. So it's not like if the first one got Arc locked down, it'd be the end of the world. Anyway, it is an agenda in server 2, triple advanced, it's Luminol, so the Corp is going to get 3 clicks back to do something with that. In addition to the fact that something I keep forgetting to mention is every time the Corp scores an agenda as precision design, they get to add 1 card from archives into HQ. Looks like in this case they added Spin Doctor, and they use those extra clicks to install Spin Doctor. Gain a little forward momentum with red level for no clicks down. And they install 2 more cards in server 2. Hoshko runs Spin Doctor to force the use. Spin Doctor shuffling red level clearance and hedge fund into R&D. That's a choice. It's not necessarily like good or bad. It just depends on how you, the runner, read the situation. It could be good to spend a click to force the Corp to use a suboptimal Spin Doctor. You know, it's a lot better than running archives at a later time when there are agendas in archives, and then Spin Doctor shuffles them into R&D. So at least the Spin Doctor is off the table. But Precision Design is looking like a fortress right now. 2 pieces of ice on every single server, and 17 credits to threaten the res on anything. I don't know how I feel about the second piece of ice on archives, although I suppose you are playing against Anarch, which means that an Omar rebirth into trashing your single piece of ice on archives may mean that your archives is quickly susceptible. However, it looks like the runner just kind of feels like they're out of this one, which is fair. They were certainly falling behind. They had very little money. It's likely that one of these cards in server 2 was a agenda. Overall, it just kind of seems like Hoshko didn't really get the ball rolling. The hunting grounds is interesting. I kind of question why it was installed. And in general, it seems like the runner was sort of playing solitaire. Like, just kind of clicking up for credits and installing their cards, but not really doing anything. They had their Breaker Suite. They must have wanted Destruction early on in the game. But... oh wait, why did this Daily Cast get removed from the game? Oh, the Gachapon. Oh, wait, no. So Want Destruction wasn't used. It's just that the Gachapon removed it from the game. Oh, and that's why the Hunting Grounds was installed, because it's a virtual resource. I bet you the Gachapon, yeah, probably installed the Hunting Grounds. Okay, well, not that Hoshko's deck was terrible or anything, but might have been just a little slow. Steve Cambridge versus PE. I'm excited to see a PE game. Cambridge is a good matchup against PE, though. His ID ability helps offset PE's grind game. Understandably, PE spends the first turn icing up HQ, Subsequently, they do ice up archives as well and install a card in server 1. Good chance that card in server 1 is an agenda. Cambridge petty shavers Class X and runs the card in server 1, which ends up being an Ultra Cipher. Fancy. Okay, so Ultra Cipher is like this weird mix between... It's like... It's hard to describe. It's sort of like Gene Splicer, but it's not. It's sort of like Junebug, but it's not. It's a little mix of every trap all into one. And even unadvanced, when the runner hits it, it still deals 2 net damage. As long as it's installed. Anyway, Cambridge takes 2 damage there, loses Bravado and Jailbreak. However, they do draw up a ton because of Class Act. So right out the gate, Genteki mind games are occurring, and Cambridge gets stung, and PE just keeps it going. They're just sitting here, not a lot going on. 2 pieces of ice, and they install just another card and a naked remote. Cambridge forged activation orders the card in front of HQ, forcing either a res or a trash. PE says, yeah, I'll pay a credit to res tithe, that's not a big deal. It's pretty normal for PE to use very porous ice. Typically, they're not intending to keep you out. They just want to hurt you if you're getting in. Anyway, in classic PE style, the naked install was an agenda. It was a House of Knives, scored, deals a single net damage hitting another Jailbreak. Not a big deal. Jailbreak not super relevant in this matchup necessarily. Botulus was installed on the Tithe earlier. Pretty much invalidates Tithe, but then again, Tithe is just a single costed ice, so not a huge deal. Cambridge pulls one of those Jailbreaks out of the bin, removes the other from the game. Drops a daily cast, and this is ultimately going to be the uphill battle that PE has to fight in this game. Because of this Botulus, because of the fact that Tithe is a rather weak piece of ice, Cambridge pretty much has an open HQ, which means once every turn he can get 1 card back. Which means that if PE wants to win through a grind out victory, that is a lot more cards that they suddenly need to trash. It's essentially equal to as many turns as the game has gone on, beyond the point where Cambridge has been running HQ. You know, if Cambridge hits HQ 10 times, that's 10 more net damage you need to do. It's not insignificant. Anyway, Cambridge runs server 2 and picks up an off-world office, runs server 1, ends up being the second copy of Urtica Cipher. The nice thing about Urtica is it is dangerous even without the corp having any money, as long as it's installed. PE, very normal style of play here, decides to just click up for credits. This is often what PE ends up doing. They just kind of sit around and click up for credits. I know it sounds a little dull, but it's one of the few corp archetypes where that kind of behavior makes sense. And the reason for this is it's not that you can't put economy cards in your PE deck, it's that you don't really want to. You want to put in as many traps as possible, and so what ends up happening is you end up cutting a lot of your economy cards for trap cards. And you kind of want to play a slow game anyway, so clicking up for credits isn't as big of a deal for you. Anyway, Cambridge jailbreaks into HQ and hits Longevity Serum. And Seamless Launch. Interesting. Seamless Launch even making its way into Jinteki decks. Anyway, Longevity Serum is definitely one you want to score as Jinteki, since it lets you pull 3 cards out of archives back into HQ. Very valuable. It looks like PE might have decided to overwrite their tithe, I think is what happened there. They overwrote their tithe with a mystery ice. However, Cambridge decides to run R&D with Jailbreak. Is going to see 2 cards and draw a card off of that. Boomeranged the ice in front of R&D, which is the new ice Diviner. You do a net damage, and if you trash an odd-numbered install or play cost cards, you end the run. Kind of neat. Kind of... You could sort of look at it as a card that has a less than 50% chance of ending the run, because 0 does not count as an odd number. So it's not great. I kind of feel like it should have been maybe costed at 1. If it was costed at 1, I think it'd be pretty good. But at 2 cost, I don't think it's that great. There are other code gates you could be using that are just better. Although cards like Ike and Harvester don't have a chance to end the run, so... This PE runs Subliminal Messaging. Celebrity Gift for a little bit of economy. They did Celebrity Gift, so let's check out their hand. Seamless Launch, Snare, and Subliminal Messaging. Yeah, we haven't seen any snares yet, so now we know there's a snare live in hand. Cambridge taking a little time to set up, in no rush, really. Has 4 points. Only needs to score, hopefully at max, 3 more agendas to win. Although there's always the possibility PE runs something silly like News Team for those -1 points. Celebrity Gift used again, not grabbing the maximum amount of money this time though, just gaining 8 credits, revealing 4 cards in hand instead of the normal 5. A lot of snares though. 2 seamless launches and 2 snares. And with PE up to 21 credits, they have plenty of money to threaten those snares as well. Cambridge drops what looks like a passport? No, it's a sneak door beta. Tranquilizes Diviner, which is going to allow the D-res on that. Once there are 3 or more hosted virus counters. Runs the open server sees a Regolith mining license? What the heck is that doing in PE? Huh. That's an interesting include. I don't know how I feel about that, especially because look at how much economy PE has. Now, admittedly, this came off the back of cards like Subliminal Messaging and Celebrity Gift, but still, 21 credits. What is PE doing with this money? Their ice aren't expensive. Their snares are, but you probably should factor into spending, what, like 12 credits a game on snares? Because you're going to be recurring your snares, but you're not in a normal game going to fire off more than 3 snares. So you've got plenty of money for all the snares that, you know, you're generally going to expect in a game. Seamless Launch only works if the card has already been installed and this ice isn't powerful enough to keep a runner out. Not that Cambridge is really trying to break in. I don't see any breakers here. It looks like Boomerang is it. And he's down to 17 cards. He installed a class act to draw 4 cards. He overwrote his old class act, I believe, is how that happened. Yeah. Cambridge has to be a little careful. Doesn't want to waste his cards. He's certainly in a commanding position, but could very easily lose that. If things go south. However, he knows that there are 2 snares somewhere in the game on this side of the table. He knows that there's either 2 in HQ, 2 on the table, or 1 in HQ and 1 on the table, and says, you know what, R&D is probably my safest place right now. We've got a Boomerang on the piece of ice protecting R&D. We've got a Tranquilizer. The Corp does not res the Boomerang piece of ice, and I think that makes sense. In fact, I would be very keen to overwrite this piece of ice since the Corp has double invested in it. Seamless Launch going to score the vulnerability audit. And we only see 1 card in HQ. Sneak Door Beta goes into HQ. Is it the snare? Did the Corp keep one of the snares in hand? We're going to find out in just a moment. Nope, just a Seamless Launch. Okay, so already we know that both of these are snares, which is kind of tough luck for the Corp. The jig is up. Those snares are very impotent when the runner is not hitting them. That's 6 net damage that no longer has the potential to activate. Oh, it looks like Ronan got new art. Anyway, Sneak Door Beta is used to get into HQ, and this is kind of the problem with Sneak Door Beta on the table. PE now has to protect archives if they want to protect HQ at all. Now, a lot of times in PE you can get away with just having snares in hand to protect HQ. You don't really need a lot of ice in front of it. But with the snares on the table, that's no longer an option. If PE has any recursion, they need to overwrite these cards, get them into archives, and recur those snares so that they're in R&D again, live and dangerous. Because as it stands now, the ice in front of the centrals basically don't exist. Sneak Door Beta is going to allow successful runs into HQ without any resistance, and this Botulus on the ice in front of R&D is going to allow Cambridge to just break whatever that is for free. And there's no way the Corp is going to be purging that. Yeah, I think Cambridge probably has this. Even though it's tied 4-4, Cambridge is getting a card back for free every turn that he runs into HQ. He's recurring things like Boomerang, recurring things like, I'm sure, you know, Tranquilizer is going to be on the table next. Oh good, they fixed the chat. You can now see which card Cambridge is adding to his hand. That's fantastic. I'll try to comment on that now, that I can actually see it. Corp tries to rebuild the dike, overwrites one of their snares, the one in server 6, creates a new server, and puts a piece of ice in front of archives. So now at least HQ is potentially protected. Card in server 6, the ice in front of it is boomeranged. Cambridge runs the remote. Corp decides to go ahead and res Diviner anyway, forcing the boomerang use. Cambridge gets in. What's he gonna see? Another Urtica? No, a House of Knives. Alright, so a single net damage goes over to Cambridge. He loses the third Tranquilizer, but again, he can just run HQ to get that back if he really needs it. The runner decides to run the card in server 9, knowing that it's not one of the original 2 snares that were put down. Hits a sting, goes up to 6 points. That was a little risky. A little risky. Took 2 net damage, drops down to 0 cards in hand. If that had been the 3rd snare, that would have been game over. But risks it, and I guess it pays off. Corp decides to put a second piece of ice in front of R&D. Does not overwrite the Botulist ice. Kind of feel like at this point you might as well overwrite it, but I don't know. It's a choice. Theoretically, it could prevent repeated runs into R&D, but I don't think Cambridge is going to run R&D enough for it to matter. But then again, the single credit that PE spent to install the second piece of ice probably also won't matter. What? What? Okay, so the Corp purges, which we don't know what this ice is. Let's think of the best case scenario. This ice is an Anansi, in which case this buys the Corp like 1 turn. Worst case scenario, that purge was pointless. The only thing I can say is before he purged, or the Corp purge rather, they did get to play subliminal messaging. Their turn rolls around again. They subliminal messaging and triple click for credits. But why? What money do they want? I think they're stalling. I think the problem is they have a handful of agendas. They know they can't score in server 6 because Cambridge is just going to get in. Their snares, there's 1 snare here, 1 snare in the trash, 2 Urticas already in the trash. They're running out of traps. They're running out of tricks. We haven't seen any recursion yet. It's possible they still have recursion. They could be running things like preemptive action, maybe even Spin Doctor. But I think the problem is that they have a bunch of agendas in hand. They can't afford to play risky anymore, because Cambridge is on game point. If they lose even just a single more agenda, and this is a rough place to be in as PE, because you can no longer threaten the net damage when the runner scores an agenda, because they no longer care. They just need 1 more agenda and then they win. Sneak Door Beta goes in through Archives, hits a Diviner, but did Diviner fire? Yeah, interesting. Diviner fired. I didn't expect that to happen, but hits a Dirty Laundry. That's an even number, so the run is not ended. Gets an HQ, sees a superconducting hub, and that's going to be game. Oh, hey, Dunch. Long time no see. Hope things are going fancy and free on the other side of the planet. But yeah, this was tough for PE. Yeah, even the runner here is saying that the snares were a big reason why they were able to navigate. Yeah. That the celebrity gift revealing the 2 snares allowed the runner to know where the snares were and allowed them to run safely. I think if PE wanted to use the celebrity gifts here in this situation, then they should have only installed one of the snares, not both of them. But this is rough. This is a bad matchup for PE anyway, because Cambridge is just constantly recurring cards. It wasn't as many as it could have been. It looks like they recurred 5 cards, but even 5 cards makes a huge difference. Like, imagine if Cambridge only had 3 cards in the stack. That's a situation where victory is a lot closer. Also, this is a PE deck that appears not to run Obokata, instead running Vulnerability Audit. Oh, you're fine, Dunch. Everybody's got a life. But yeah, I think the reason a Vulnerability Audit was in here is because of the synergy with Seamless Launch. But I don't think you play PE. Like, if you want to play the Seamless Launch Vulnerability Audit game, I don't think you do it in PE. Because Vulnerability Audit does nothing to protect itself. In a way, the Corp was very lucky to have scored this. The Off-World Office is also a little interesting. I'm not saying it, like, lost PE the game or anything like that, but it does kind of make me wonder why it's in here. I think it's probably also just because of the Seamless Launch synergy. I think the idea is that this PE deck wants to install all of their agendas either in an open naked remote and then seamless launch them, in which case you can seamless launch your off-world and score it in 1 turn. But speaking from experience, I've tried this and I don't think it works very well, because your games come down to a coin flip. Either the runner runs the right locations and they win because they chose correctly, or the runner just happens to run the wrong locations and either gets killed by a snare or just doesn't get your agendas. In which case, though, both forms of playing PE aren't within your control. And so I think it's a little too random. Yeah, I think you mentioned that you'd love to see me play Dunch. Oops. Oh, why is the text in the chat so small? I sound like an old man. Oh, the, what is that called? Improved protein? I was never brave enough to put that in my Jinteki deck. Always kind of wanted to, but I think back then Byoken was still putting out videos, and I saw one of Byoken's videos, and he said that card was bad, and I think after that I was too afraid to use it. Yeah. One of these days I'll probably actually play. I think the problem is, with the pandemic going on, a friend of mine and I built these decks saying that we're going to play them in person, and I don't want to actually play them until I see him in person again to play. So I don't want to actually test them on Jiteki. But yet at the same time, they're the ones I'm passionate about right now. It's kind of dumb, but I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't been playing. Alright, 419 versus Asa. I wonder if this is the Asa deck that we saw as being one of the top decks. Where was it here? This one. Guess we'll know if we see 3 Cyberdeck sandboxes. Or, not sandbox. What is it? No, that is sandbox. Global food. We'll try and read it by the agendas. Anyway, 419, of course, pretty frustrating runner to play against as the Corp. You have to make the decision whether you want to lose a credit or give away hidden information. Although if it's a card you plan on rezzing immediately anyway, kind of like a Spin Doctor, you can get around that by just not paying the credit, revealing it to 419, and then immediately rezzing it anyway. There's a little bit of wiggle room. Of course, we're still early in the game. 0-0. Corp up to 9 credits with a little bit of forward momentum on the table in the form of Nico Campaign. A couple of rezzed ice as well. Did this diversion of funds succeed? No, the diversion of funds was thwarted by Hagen. And that's... what the... And that's probably a big reason why 419's tempo has been delayed here. Asa revealing that they are a fully operational deck. Wants to create a lot of servers with a single piece of ice in front of them. Yeah, this is looking pretty good for Asa so far. Asa's a good deck to, or a good ID to use the fully operational strategy with, since you can create a new server and install a piece of ice in front of that server all in the same turn, or rather all in the same click. Oh, not this again. Okay, so there's the potential for this to be another Managarm Skunkworks Anoetic Void deck. Anoetic Void is revealed. Another piece of ice protects server 1. Makes sense just with a vanilla that's easily broken. Another ice in front of HQ. That's probably to dissuade or thwart future diversion of funds attempts. Amakua makes a lot of sense in 419. It's pretty much a staple. He drops that, runs archives once for the token. Nico Campaign trashes itself and draws a card. 2 more cards go into server 1. We can make an educated guess that one of these is a Managarm Skunkworks and the other is an agenda. Third piece of ice protects R&D, but why not protect archives? I think it would rather protect archives unless this agenda here in server 1 is the Cyberdeck sandbox. In which case, maybe the Corp would want 419 to waste a bunch of clicks running archives here just to score the Cyberdeck's sandbox and immediately reset the virus counters, which would be pretty sneaky. Like purposefully leaving archives open to purposefully waste 419's time. 419 does run archives once and then mutual favors, getting to install Paperclip, and then runs archives a final time. We're gonna have to see if this is a Cyberdeck sandbox. It's looking like it. Yep. Okay, and all those Amakua counters go away. I can't pretend like I'm not happy to see them go, though. Amakua is such a frustrating icebreaker to play against when your opponent is 419. Loses those virus tokens, essentially losing 419 the 2 clicks he spent last turn getting them. He decides to boomerang the outermost piece of ice protecting HQ and diversion of funds in. Drafter is revealed, but that of course can be broken by boomerang. There are just enough credits in 419's pool. Well, one more credit in 419's pool than is needed to break Hagen. I forgot that Hagen loses strength for each installed icebreaker, and I believe Amakua counts. It does, indeed. Gets an HQ, steals those 5 credits. Evens things up just a little bit. Political operative. Oh, that's going to be very nice. Very nice against cards like Anoetic Field or Managarm Skunkworks. Yeah, I wonder if that's a meta call due to the recent prevalence of the Managarm Anoetic combo. Essentially mid-run you could even use that to trash. Which one would you trash? Probably Managarm, since that's the one that makes you pay the most resources. So you trash the Managarm with Political Operative. Plus, I think Managarm costs more to trash anyway. Oh, but it's not like you get a discount with Political Operative. You have to pay for it one way or the other. Fully operational to gain a little bit of forward momentum, although it's just used as a hedge fund that gets an extra credit. 419 checks server 3 and just sees a Jeeves model Biroid. Not protected. Doesn't really need to be protected since unresed, its trash cost is 5. 419 runs the Jeeves again, presumably just to get a virus token. And then decides to check server 1, click 3. Definitely enough tokens, obviously, to break vanilla since, well, you need 0 on Amakua to do that. Plus the paperclip can do it, of course, as well. Corp needs to decide now whether they want to res this outermost piece of ice, or whether perhaps they want to let the runner in to server 1 and trigger their Managarm Anoetic combo, except they still know that the runner has this Palop. Okay, so they decide to go ahead and just play the game normally, resing their Fairchild 3.0. That might be the wiser of the two situations, especially because there's no way that 419 can break this. So it's going to be a little pricey for 419 to get in here. 419 pays the 6 to prevent any of their cards from being trashed, and then the Corp decides to end the run. With nearly 0 credits, 419 makes a last-ditch run into R&D, sees a vanilla, decides not to break the vanilla. Could have broken the vanilla. I wonder why he didn't. I think at that point, wouldn't you kind of want to? I mean, just to see one card. You've already spent the click to run. Anyway, Corp getting some serious forward momentum in the form of Jeeves into a Purge, which gains them 4 credits. And then they even get another click afterwards. To do what, though? We'll have to see. Yeah, Cyberdeck Sandbox definitely going to be... That early score is a big wrench in 419's Amakua game. Looks like maybe they're thinking? Or maybe they don't realize that they have another click? Surely they realize they have another click. That was the whole point of rezzing Jeeves. I think at this point, though, they've pretty much won the game. Like, the game will play out, but what does 419 do? And presumably he's got maybe what, the bin breakers? But the bin breakers are expensive. And 419's kind of broke right now. 2 diversion of funds have already been played. The cards protecting HQ have already been rezzed, so chances of future HQ shenanigans are kind of low. That last diversion of funds isn't going to make a big difference. 2 daily casts have already been used. All this economy. 419 is still down to 1 credit. 419 decides to throw down Miss Bones. Pretty good. Especially in the face of a naked Jeeves. Gets to trash that using Bones credits. That's at least something. Unfortunately, though, it means that Amakua doesn't get any tokens, but at this point, Amakua is almost a dead card. The Corp can purge whenever they want and gain 4 credits for doing so. I published improved protein deck. Lockdown 13 greenhouse. Alright. After this game, I'll take a look. I'll be excited to see that. Now it looks like a double draw and 2 clicks for credits from the Corp. Is that what happened? No, I'm reading this completely wrong. The runner double draws and 2 clicks for credits. But yeah, it really just looks like the Corp has this one in the bag. They're low on money, but their board state is very strong right now. The only thing I might say is that they've already played 2 fully operationals, which means they're probably not going to get a lot more value out of that style. Unless they can recur their copies of fully operational. Oh, well, I'm staring at a spin doctor. Of course they can recur fully operational. The vanillas are a bit weak, especially at this point where Paperclip can just bust through him for a credit. Looks like the Corp might have been delayed here. And the runner left. Well, that's the way it goes sometimes. Yeah, I think though, the Corp bit was definitely going to win this. Is there, can we figure out if this was the Off-World Skunks first place deck? It definitely looks like it. All the cards match. Yeah, there it is. Anoetic Void, Managarm Skunkworks. That seems to be the winning combo. Wasn't in this one, though. Single copy of Slot Machine seems interesting. But yeah, okay. Let's see here if we can find this deck that was just published. Maybe it'll pop up. Oh, no, it was there on the left. Hey! That's the right username. Alright, Dunge, let's see what you got. Ginteki Biotech. This seems to be one of your favorites. Favorite IDs. Lockdown 13. Rotated out on the same day. RIP. We'd like to be able to tax the runner out with Ganked. And Lindsay. Anansi was banned. Interesting. Yeah, I was gonna say, typically people consider Malinzi to be like the worst version of Anansi. But Malinzi is so interesting, it's sad that it doesn't get used because Anansi is so much better. Anansi is not like... I'm assuming it was banned on whatever tournament you were doing. Like, it's not actually banned, right? Yeah, it's still legal because it's part of the Asacia. I think that's what it's called. The Asacia packs or whatever. Being able to score out after one turn with either the ID ability or after advancing one time feels great. Yeah, so I assume you took, what was it called? There's the tank. Oh man, I can't remember. Yeah, so you must have been taking the greenhouse. Oh, just banned in the format? It's an interesting choice. I can kind of see why, since Anansi was just kind of the... Getting rid of Anansi forces people to use other interesting sentries. Plus, Malinzi has that neat condition where the runner can technically choose not to take any net damage if they run into it. They just lose a crap ton of cards off the top of their stack. Cortex Lock. Ah, okay, so let's look at this analytically. Corporate sales team, approved protein, Nisei, Sting. Very, very bold to use improved protein. But I respect it. I respect your bravery. Biotic Labor, I'm assuming so that you can install a card and then flip your ID with Greenhouse. Celebrity gift for money, IPO, hedge fund. Makes sense. Preemptive action. I think what's really going to be interesting is looking at these upgrades though. Musashi. So they have to take damage? Oh, okay, because you use Sting. Interesting. Biovolt. For the ending run. Counter a res piece of ice. What are you making them encounter here? You make them encounter the Lindsay? I guess if they didn't have... Well, hold on here. What is this? Conjine. When the runner encounters ice, you and the runner speaker to spend. If you and the runner spend a different number, you may force it. Ha! You have so many encounter other ice cards. Lacosta for the fast advance. Marcus Batty. Ah, it feels like it's been forever since I've seen Batty. Batty would be pretty nasty if you fired off Lindsay's third sub. Or you could even, I suppose, if the Lindsay wasn't in that server, if you had the Conjine, you could fire off Conjine sub, although you'd have to win the side game. Why does my mouse keep moving? You'd have to win the side game to win that. Thimble Rig to shuffle around your ice. Lockdown. Lockdown is such a fun card. Envelope, pretty solid barrier. The ganked is interesting. I'd be interested to hear how useful... Oh, wait, Konjin can't be broken? That's just a thing that happens? Oh my goodness, you're right. How did I never see that? It's an on-encounter ability. Oh, so it can't be... I see what you're saying. It can't be used with Marcus Batty. Because it's not technically a sub. In your experience, how often were you successfully able to use BioVault? I feel like BioVault is good, but I generally think of it in like Glacier decks. It's not that you don't have ice here, but it doesn't strike me as a Glacier style. I could be wrong though. Yeah, I bet the boomerang would be stranded on Konjin. Be one of those situations where you can res it. You don't have to not res it to lock in the boomerang. And they still can't use it. I think it'd be worth it just to see the look on the runner's face when that happens. Well, it seems pretty cool. I think you've probably got more experience in Jinteki Biotech than I do. Like I said, I tried it a bunch, like, over the course of a month and then got burnt out because I couldn't get it to work. And then, put it in my binder and never took it out. Oh, okay, so you pretend like it's an agenda, the BioVault. And if they run it, then you get to force them to waste resources on something that isn't an agenda, and if they don't run it, well then you can just advance it the extra time. And then you've got a free end the run whenever you want it. Pretty cool. Well, thanks for sharing, Dunge. I think, analyzing decks and cards is my favorite part of the game. Playing is a ton of fun, too, but there's so many different styles and strategies. Acme Consulting, so the outermost piece of ice is treated as if there is a tag on the runner. It doesn't really matter with Funhouse, though. Acme, you gotta worry about cards like Hydra. Did they ban? They might have banned the one that makes you lose all the money, or not banned, but it might have rotated. My mind keeps going back to this deck now. I'm like thinking of all the different ways to get things to work. One of these days I do need to play. Maybe I'll build some dummy decks or something. Some other strategies that I'm interested in, aside from the ones that I was planning on playing with my friend. We'll work on perfecting those or something. But okay, back to the grind. Or the excitement, I should say. Acme Consulting, we don't see any of the cards, or rather, we don't know what any of this ice is that has been unres, but we have to assume it's something that synergizes with... What? Gold Farmer is legal in startup? Yeah, Gold Farmer was like the moment I saw that card, I was like, what? In combination with the game net, it's just worse. I can't. So you're saying it's legal in startup? That's those poor people in startup. Second Earthrise we've seen tonight. I feel like Earthrise used to be in every single deck, along with Career Fair. And for some reason, at some point, it just kind of stopped existing. I think it's because it's a little expensive, it's a little slow. Like, it's simultaneously fast and slow. Over the course of the next 3 turns, it definitely increases your speed. But the startup cost is a little high. But apparently, maybe it's making its way back. Fermenter already has 5 tokens on it. Does I get a token each turn? Yeah. Kind of like a weird drip card, sort of like Rizeki or something, that has the potential to pay off more, but you have to click and trash it. So I suppose there's a bit of synergy there with something like Hive Mind. Hive Mind has always been... I don't know if janky is the right word. If you play a Hive Mind deck, you typically aren't going to be tournament competitive. But that doesn't mean you can't build a strong deck with it. Okay, so out of Hoshko we see an Eater, which signifies the possibility of Apocalypse. Except the fact that there are too many cards here installed to probably be an Apocalypse deck. I don't think Apocalypse would run things like... Well, could. Nah, I think there's too many cards you would want to keep around. The Eater is probably just to... What? Devil Charm into Chisel? What? I'm actually confused. Confused is not quite the right word. I'm unsure. There's a lot of pieces in Hoshko's deck here. Some of it makes sense. The Dream Net, of course, just synergizes with the ID. The Companions, I mean, Drip Economy. But the Devil Charm, where's this Devil Charm going to be used? We don't see any chisels yet. We see an Imp. You would expect an Imp more out of, like, Renee or... Yeah, well, mostly Renee these days. But apparently Devil Charm is used against the Hydra. Drops the strength down to 0. Eater's going to be able to chew through that for just a single... No, not a single. 3 credits. Which is good, because it is going to prevent all of Hydra's nastiness from firing. And it did force the Corp to spend 10 credits. We trashed Funhouse because of the Spooned Ren. Oh, so this is just a simple cutlery deck. An honest cutlery deck, I think, is what we're looking at. In which case, you know, the cutlery is just used in tandem with Eater to trash the ice. Devil Charm makes that a little cheaper to do. I was talking with the same friend, actually, the other day. Or it might have been today, I don't know. All the days swim together anymore. Who said they felt that the cutlery cards were the best version of trashing. They felt the most balanced. I think I'd have to agree. Until, I suppose, although thinking back, the days where everyone was running lamb knifed, same old thing, was a little rough. Where it just didn't matter what your ice was, it was gonna get knifed by lamb. Anyway, the good news is that because Acme had to reinstall a second piece of ice to replace the lost funhouse. Is that Hydra is no longer the outermost piece of ice. Now, part of the thing that makes Hydra so scary is that shock factor. You don't know if you're going to run into a Hydra. So that's kind of a bit of a moot point, especially if this outermost piece of ice tags the runner. Like, it could be a ping, could even just be another funhouse, in which case Hydra is live again. At least as far as the net damage goes. Another Hydra. Rez protecting this daily quest. The Corp making tons of money off both these daily quests. The runner wants to try to stop that. Pays 5 real credits to Eater through Hydra. At least doesn't have to deal with the negative effects of the subroutine. Interestingly, there is a bit of synergy here with Eater and DreamNet, because even though Eater prevents access of cards, DreamNet still triggers because the run is successful. Now, Hoshko is in her natural state, but if she was in the digital state, she would gain a credit in addition to the draw. Unfortunately, though, that means that the daily quest in server 4 is going to stay there. Oh no. Oh no. IP block is encountered. Hoshko thought it might be safe to run server 1 since the Corp is only down to 2 credits. But IP block is rezzed, and because she has Eater installed, she automatically takes that tag. Now she breaks. Hold on. Breaks all the subroutines on IP block, but then jacks out? But if that's the case, she should have just broken the trace and not broken the end the run. It's the difference of a credit. I mean, it's not necessarily going to be the biggest impact. We'll have to see, though. Corp is down to quite a low number of credits. However, these 2 daily quests should be ticking up. However, did they not get the credits from their daily quest? Oh, no, this is brilliant. No. Okay, so I always forget this conditional from daily quest. The Corp does not actually gain the money if the runner makes a successful run, which is why Hoshko went ahead and broke IP block so that they made a successful run, which actually gains them 2 credits back anyway. Right, I always forget there's this kind of minute amount of counterplay that the runner has when dealing with daily quest. Now it looks like the Corp decided to spend 2 credits and a click to trash Paladin Poemu. Ooh, that's rough. Yeah, so Eater choose through Hydra, a 10 cost ice. Gets into daily quest, gets 2 credits because of daily quests conditional, while simultaneously also, of course, preventing the Corp from gaining 3 credits on the next turn. Yeah, this is making a lot of sense. I'm liking how Hoshko is playing this. It's smart. However, the Corp gaining 3 credits from this daily quest has enough money to hedge fund. Puts a new piece of ice in front of server 4 to help protect that. We'll have to see if Hoshko has the ability, the money, the cards to contest this daily quest in server 4, or if she has to let it go, in which case things get a little dangerous. How'd you get all this money? Oh, use a liberated account. Of course, with lib account on the table, she has the option to gain money. Clicks it twice, runs the spin doctor. Why? What are we trying to force the spin doctor to be used on? We talked about this earlier. I know that sometimes forcing the spin doctor to be used can be good, but why specifically now? I don't know, maybe she felt like she just didn't have anything better to do. Devil Charm hits the table. Presumably going to be used for future Eater trashes on high strength ice. Hey, thanks for dropping by, Dunch. Take care, man. Hoshka runs server 4 and hits the oh so frustrating data ward. Takes the tag, shakes the tag. Data ward is very difficult to get through if it's the outermost piece of ice against Acme. Even with Eater, it's like 6 to boost and 3 to break. It's 4 to break. It's 10 credits just to get through a single data ward. Now, did we overwrite the daily quest? We did. Daily quest was overwritten. New card in server 1 double advanced. Hoshko goes in guns blazing with a knifed. Outermost piece of ice revealed to be a data ward. Knifed will trash that if she eaters through it. It might be worth it to do that. Oh, very nice. Devil Charm lowers Data Ward's 8 strength down to 0, making that a lot more palatable to get through. 3 credits to break those subroutines even came from Trickster Tonka, so only 1 real credit spent. Knifed, of course, breaking through that. Now she's either going to have to jack out or encounter this IP block. I think the right call is to jack out, because the IP block is going to keep her out. And even if she breaks it, she's not going to access the cards in server 1. Oh wait, was the outermost piece of ice Hippo? Oh, I see. The outermost piece of ice was Hippo. The players are unsure as to how this interacts. Well, the problem is that the condition so the runner gets to choose the order that things trigger. And since Hippo and Knifed both trigger at the same time, the runner gets to choose which one fires first. And it's legal, I believe, to use Hippo first. Except the problem is Knifed isn't going to work on IP block because it's not the first time that all subroutines against a barrier have been broken. It's going to be the second time. So the runner is legally allowed to use Hippo first, but it really wouldn't make sense to. It would make since both are going to fire at the same time, you might as well use the knife. Looks like they're going to do a redo. Both sides now understand the situation a little better. In which case, I think the corp says they're even not going to res the data ward, which makes sense because they don't want to lose such a valuable card. Anoetic Void is res. We're gonna have to see if the corp wants to use this to end the run. However, they're figuring out just at the same time that I am that this can only be used as the runner approaches the server, not whenever they want. Anyway, so knifed coming in. Gonna hit the IP block. IP block gonna give Hoshko a tag. However, it can still be broken with Eater. In which case, knifed will still trash it. Kind of like a situation where both sides get hit. Still a little discussion about what's going on. Understandable, Netrunner can be a rather confusing game. I know in person, the game takes like twice as long to play as the players are trying to run all these calculations in their head. And this makes sense. Hoshko jacks out. Maybe she should have kept going to get the draw, but she doesn't. The card server one is triple advance, ends up being a send a message. Resing the Hydra for free. Hoshko immediately follows that up with a Botulus. Says, I see that Hydra. I'm going to play the game's currently most annoying virus card. At least Hydra has 3 subroutines. Botulus is amazing against Ice with 1 subroutine. It's okay, pretty okay, against Ice with 2 subroutines. It does struggle quite a bit, though, against anything with 3. I was discussing this sometime recently as well, and I brought up Archer, Tithonium. I guess Hydra needs added to the list of strong Ice with 3 or more subroutines. Chisel played on the other Hydra. That's going to be able to be dropped immediately with Devil Charm. But Hoshko has a little bit of a tough decision to make here. Botulus has enough virus counters to break 2 of the subroutines on Hydra. Looks like she hedge funds after having drawn a card, takes the last bit of money from Lib account. Are we going to see a run on server 1 now? Anoetic Void could potentially just end the run. She decides to ignore server 1. Okay. Runs into HQ. Sees an IP block. Frustrating. It's probably going to keep her out. Unless she could hippo it. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Okay, so she's going to take the tag because of the AI interaction. Hippo's the IP block. Probably going to Devil Charm. Yep. Devil Charm. Chisel the Hydra. Suddenly HQ is wide open. Corp deciding what they want to do. They have plenty of money. Is the card in server 1 an agenda? If it is, it's a tough choice. Because next turn, Botulus is going to get another counter, allowing Hoshko to potentially just walk right through it. They decide, if the card in server 1 is an agenda, they decide not to score it. So they double ice HQ. And follow that up with a drawn card. Corp seem to be running a lot of ice these days. I love it. I feel like the game is in a bad state when the Corps are running iceless decks. It's always just disappointing to me when I see that. Anyway, Hoshko gets set up, puts down Knobkri, a Palangi. It's going to allow all of her cutlery to be able to fire whenever needed, effectively painting the ice to whatever she needs it to be. The card in server 1 is indeed another agenda, another 5/3, send a message, used to res Data Ward for free. Not insignificant, but Corp has enough money that they would have been able to res that anyway. I think what this really means is they have plenty of money left over to protect the centrals now. And Hoshko's in a bit of a tight spot. Really liked the way Hoshko had been playing all of this. But I think the Corp just had enough ice, enough extra ice, to combat what Hoshko was doing. Hoshko's going to go in again, trying into R&D. Funhouse rezzed. She's just going to bounce right off of that. Doesn't want to deal with the tag. And that makes sense. And unfortunately, like we were saying, the Corp has so much money that, you know, in certain circumstances, the Funhouse res might have meant something. But the Corp really isn't hurting to spend 5 credits to do that. Hoshko decides to dirty laundry in archives and wants to see what these 2 cards are. In archives, slot machine shown. Slot machine reveals event program. Hoshko is just going to eat her through that, though. I don't know if I agree with that. I think, wouldn't you just let slot machine fire? Let the Corp gain 3 credits so that you can see... Oh, the cards still get flipped over? You just can't access them. Interesting. I don't think I ever thought of that interaction. So, Eater still reveals what those cards were, so you still get the information. Never mind. Makes sense then. Prevents the Corp from gaining 3. Although at this point, the Corp nearly has infinite money. I wouldn't call it infinite just yet, but unless this daily quest is contested at any point, which it probably isn't going to be, Corp has more than enough money than they need for the rest of the game. New card installed in server 1. If it's in any agenda that can be scored in 1 turn, on the next turn, game's over. Another piece of ice in front of R&D. I think this is the last turn. That signifies that the Corp has no agendas in HQ. Otherwise, they would have put that ice in front of HQ. They're looking at the current condition of the game and saying, the only way I can lose is if the runner somehow got into R&D and scored 7 points. Indeed, they dropped 3 advancement tokens on the quantum predictive model. And that's game. Good game to watch, really. I mean, I know it looked like Hoshko just lost that outright. I felt like both decks were legitimate. We weren't watching degenerate strategies or anything like that. Both decks clearly had a point and purpose. Hoshko's was a little harder to figure out. seems like we've been seeing a lot of Devil Charm Chisel decks lately. But I liked that this one didn't rely exclusively on recurring Chisel. That one we saw earlier, where it was just recurring Chisel over and over again, I definitely feel like that's very limited. Because you can only do that as many times as you have Devil Charm, which at a maximum is 3. But I really like this. I like the fact that Chisel and Devil Charm are part of this. But, look, we only see one Chisel. And no Simul chips, no, like, crazy recursion. The Devil Charm is just there to be useful when it's useful. And it can be used for all sorts of things, like lowering the strength of ice just to make it cheaper for Eater to break through so that your cutlery can work. Or Hippo. Or anything like that. Ultimately, though, I think these ice destruction decks are... They struggle against any corp with enough recursion to recur their trashed ice, or in the case of this Acme deck, where they have so much ice that, you know, they can lose 4 pieces of installed ice, and it doesn't matter. Because they have so much ice, they can just replace it. The interaction, too, was kind of nice for the corp, with IP block against Eater, forcing Hoshko to shake that tag. All 3 data wards were drawn. 2 Hydras. Could have just been a little bit of lucky draw as well. But I don't want to just say that. I don't think it was only lucky draw. Oh, gosh. No, all 3 Hydras were drawn. All 3 Hydras. All 3 data wards. 2 Funhouse. Eh. We'll watch one more. One more. Another. Alright. Zaya versus Built to Last. I don't think we've seen a single Wayland game tonight. Till now. Red team already missing 9 of the 12 credits. Shows that it's been used quite a bit. Docklands Pass. Very nice card. Red team used the last time on Archives. Ngolo. Ngolo coming out of Zaya. Interesting. CityWorks project not likely to be stolen since 6 meat damage would need to be taken in order to do so. Mausolus on R&D. Winchester on HQ. Winchester's is a fun ice. I think back when it was released, it was a little risky to use since there were a lot of Link decks running around, especially the one that used Citadel Sanctuary and what was the other one? Citadel Sanctuary and Security Nexus out of 419 basically invalidated Winchester. But as long as you're not going against a runner that's stacking Link, it's a fun piece of ice. I feel like it's just honest. Oh, I lost connection. What the? That was weird. Yeah. Semi-relevant traces. With a reward for using it on HQ. Anyway. No One Home. This is a great card. No One Home is very versatile. Protects you against traces. Also has the advantage of being effective against net damage. pretty good. Anyway, the Corp isn't scoring CityWorks project for some reason. Decides to put another piece of ice in front of server 1. Advances it once. Zaya, kind of fed up with the Corp shenanigans, says, fine, I'm just going to focus on R&D. Busts right on through Mausolus with Angola with a Maker's Eye. Sees 3 cards off R&D. Hits all 3, and none of them are agendas. That is just disappointing. However, interestingly, Maker's Eye is paid for. Actually comes up 1 credit up due to Zaya's ability. Corp decides to ice Archives, advances the card in front of Archives once, and also advances CityWorks project. I have to assume that now at this point they're holding out for a mass commercialization, and they want CityWorks to be available so that they can play mass commercialization. However, does mass commercialization work on any card? Is it just any card with an advancement token? Check that really quick. Like, would it work on an advanced agenda? With at least 1 advancement token on it? Yeah. So I have to assume that's why Wayland was keeping that around. That's why they advanced this ice by 1, this ice by 1. Not to mention the fact that, of course, they gain a credit when they advance an unadvanced card, so it's just the same as clicking for a credit. Oh. Now the double advanced card in server 1 is a falsified credential. The runner used falsified accounts. Wait, is this the first time this happened? No, wait. I think I said the wrong name. I said falsified accounts. No, falsified credentials and reversed accounts. Anyway, uses falsified credentials, guesses asset, guesses correctly. He's going in to contest this falsified... Oh, now I'm just keeping saying the name wrong. Coming in to contest the reversed accounts, sees a Colossus, very strong. Busts through it using Angolo, though, for 6 credits. Man, that's wild. If it weren't for the fact that Angolo has to paint Colossus as a code gate, it just busts through Colossus for 4 credits. Even if Colossus has the extra 3 strength. No, wait, what am I saying? 3 plus 4 is 7. Angolo would only have 6 after the first boost. Anyway, hits a border control. Border control fires, gains the Corp 2 credits, and ends the run. So that's a little frustrating as Zaya, because this falsified credential, I am going to say it right eventually, this reversed account in server 1 can be used at any time to, well, any time with a click by the Corp to make the runner lose, what is it, 8 credits? Yeah. So Zaya kind of wants to stay around the 5 credit zone so that if the Corp did use it, they're not getting the full value. Zaya puts out an Aeneas Informant. Interesting. You don't really see Aeneas Informant that often these days. Used to be good. Oh, wasn't there a Geist deck that ran it? I think it used to be good with Amakua. Because you would access things with Amakua, gain money from Aeneas Informant, and still get a token, a virus token on Amakua. Purposefully, people would not trash things just to trigger Aeneas and Amakua. Anyway, decides to run R&D. Breaks through Mausolus for 5 credits. Doesn't see anything. No, steel is a City Works project. It says it wasn't installed. No meat damage needed to be spent. Lucky steel. Off the Singleton access from R&D. Uh-oh. Here comes a big bad punitive, though. Is this going to be a value punitive, or is this death? First punitive used. Nope, just a value punitive. That's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. The runner only had 1 credit, so you might as well. Fairly cheap to do that, I believe. Just the cost of punitive itself. Yeah. Trace was boosted by 0. So for 3 credits, you get to deal 3 meat damage to the runner. The runner loses Sure Gamble, Overclock, and Contaminate. Sure Gamble and Overclock definitely being economy cards that the runner would rather have. The Contaminate, though. Why is everyone using Contaminate lately? What is this for? Yeah, what have we seen this used for in the past? We've seen it used for Conduit. We've seen it used for Gravedigger. It's pretty much been it. So what, we have to assume Conduit and Gravedigger. I don't see what else it would be. Well, I don't really see anything that it would be based on the discard pile. Anyway, the Corp decides to score a hostile takeover out of hand, so 1 bad pup goes over to Zaya. She definitely needs it. Rizeki dropped. Now, what turn are we in? We're on turn 11. That's... Turn 11 Rizeki. Maybe not the best time to play that. Everyone likes to think of Rizeki as free money, but you gotta think. It's not until the 4th turn after you've played it that Rizeki even starts getting you money. So Zaya won't see anything from this card, won't see any forward momentum from this card until turn 16. Yeah, sorry, turn 15. Will the game even last that long? We'll have to see. Oh, and the second Rizeki? No. No. Okay, the first Rizeki, maybe. This second Rizeki, I strongly disagree with. But you know what? I'd love to be proven wrong. We'll track it, right? Let's bring up a notepad. So we have the first Rizeki on turn 11, the second Rizeki, if I can spell, turn 12. We'll see when those pay off and how much. Corp decides to protect R&D by putting another piece of ice up there and advancing it once. Have we seen any mass commercializations? We have 2 of them played. In fact, one was played last turn for a gain of 8. Corp up to 27 credits, more money than they probably need for the rest of the game. Assuming, of course, that they score another 3-pointer soon. Another Aeneas informant. Okay, at this point, Zaya is kind of playing solitaire. These Aeneas informants aren't doing anything. They haven't done anything. The first one hasn't done anything to my knowledge, and the second one almost just guaranteed is not to do very much. I mean, like, Aeneas informant at least pays off a little faster than Rizeki as long as you're accessing things. After you've accessed and not trashed 2 cards, Aeneas informant makes you money. But you have to be making runs in order for that to happen, and Zaya has not been able to make any runs lately because she has had no economy through which to make runs. And it looks, I'm going to guess, we haven't seen her whole deck yet, but I'm going to guess that Ngolo might be her only breaker. We see... Nope, okay. Amakua. But she doesn't have the MU for this. I wonder if Contaminate is for Amakua. I mean, That isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world, but I could see certain situations where that would be pretty good. Like where the corp thinks you can't get in with your Amakua because you can't get enough tokens for it, and then, surprise! You got 3 more tokens. Anyway, the runner's gonna need a little bit more MU if they want both the Rizekis and the Amakua on the table. They double draw, no, they triple draw, perhaps looking for that console. Instead, they throw down verbal plasticity. That's they don't want to do that. They don't want to throw down verbal plasticity on turn 15. That's another card that's going to take, assuming that you can equate 1 draw with 1 click, which you can't necessarily, but we're going to do that anyway for the sake of the math. It's going to be 5 turns before that card pays off. We're on turn 15. Hey, we're on turn 15. Okay, so Rizeki is now... This Rizeki has made +1, and the other Rizeki has made +0. So we are actually seeing forward momentum now. And I feel bad because I basically stopped commenting on what the Corp is doing, because what the Corp does right now doesn't really matter. The Corp just has to score a 5-3. And it's not terribly hard for them to do that. The runner has shown basically that they don't have any ability to break into places. They don't have the money to break into places. Now, this Bravado run into the Mausolus is going to get a payout, simply because Mausolus isn't a hard end the run. So the runner is going to get 7 credits out of this, but they're going to take a tag, they're going to lose a card to net damage. Not a big deal to lose a card to net damage. Jailbreak, you know, Zaya's not going to be crying because of that. The tag is a little annoying. That'll probably need shaken. And the net damage. Wait. No. What? Why are we using No One Home? What is No One Home doing? No One Home could be used against the net damage. Oh, it's being used against the tag? Okay. Okay. Alright. So, No One Home used to shake the tag. That's a little bit of time and effort saved. And Zaya does get the 7 credits from that run. But the Corp dedication ceremony is a City Works project. And at this point, Zaya needs enough money to get into Server 1 with 6 cards in hand. We are in turn 16. Alright, we'll increment this like that. But I think that's game. I think Zaya might be new or might be figuring out her deck or something. And that's fine. But a lot of these decisions, the way she played the game ended up hurting her quite a bit. And that's game in favor of the Corp. Yeah, so you can see, because turn 17 never rolled around for the runner, playing these Rizekis only gave the runner a forward movement of 3 credits, but they were set back between all those turns in the in-between. Where they basically had to navigate having no money. It just wasn't worth it. The Alias Informants didn't do anything. Alias Informant sounds nice. It seems like, oh, here's this really cheap card to install that gets me money every time I access something. I'm a runner, I want to access things. I'm Zaya, I want to gain money by accessing things. But to install them in the situation that the runner was in didn't make a lot of sense. Turning wheel was never used. We didn't see the Docklands Pass used. Or at least I don't think we did. Verbal plasticity shouldn't have been installed. Otherwise, though, I think in the early parts of the game, Zaya was making good moves. Like, she ran R&D, she was running these servers. That's why this ice is rezzed. She wasn't playing solitaire exclusively. But it's an easy mistake to make as the runner, where you've got all these cards, you want to install them all, you think, oh, I want to build my engine, I want to have all my fancy tricks installed, and so on and so forth. But it ends up not mattering if you're not using them. Yeah, anyway. So we're calling it for the night. For any of those who've had the fortitude to put up with my ramblings this long and are still with me, as always, of course, thank you for watching. Otherwise, take care out there. See you in the next one. And, happy running if you were still out there playing Netrunner. Fun game.